Hello, my name is Ella Rose, and I am going to be talking about Romeo and Juliet in the form of a podcast. So, the themes we will be examining are love versus lust, society, social constructs, and family. How do they play a role in Romeo and Juliet's story? So, first, I would like to talk about fate in Romeo and Juliet. Fate was used right from the start. Romeo and Juliet's ill-fated lives, as described as death-marked, as they are a pair of star-crossed lovers. The idea of fate is a huge aspect of the Romeo and Juliet story, and is even mentioned in the first part of the story. The second part I would like to look at is Romeo and Juliet's family and societal constructs. Because if the two families had not been feuding in the first place, Romeo and Juliet would not have died, or at least not in the way that they would have. And I honestly believe they wouldn't have even fallen in love, or love, I would put that in quotations, because I don't believe it's love. But I don't believe they would have fallen in love, or lust, as I would prefer to call it, in the first place, because they would have nothing telling them not to. Romeo and Juliet, I believe, is a childish lust story as opposed to how it's been portrayed as a love story. Romeo and Juliet, though timeless, is flawed and childish and should be presented as such. The characters themselves are childish and naive, believing in true love and how everything will be perfect in the end. Because in reality, that's not how things work. In fact, if you're looking at it by strictly trying to decide whether it's love or lust, it is most certainly lust, considering if you take how Juliet first thinks of Romeo. In the balcony scene, which is, as one might say, the most well-known scene in the entire play, is she's talking about him, about his body, and how much she loves looking at him and how beautiful he is. But never once does she mention wanting to spend the rest of her life with him or loving him unconditionally. Because, as that is not love, that is lust. Looking at somebody's physical appearance and not even once considering the true personality of the person. Romeo is also guilty of this, as when he is talking about Juliet, she is the most beautiful woman in all the world. She is, arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already stuck with pale grief, that thou art her maiden and far more fair than she, because not her maiden, since she is envious. Romeo is speaking of only her beauty, not of her personality or how he'd like to get to know her. So, in the terms of Romeo and Juliet, whether it is love or lust, it would have to be love. Not love, it would have to be lust, considering the fact that all they ever do, even when they're ready to kill themselves for each other, is all a childish and teenage love story. And most teenage love stories are, in fact, just lust. So, in conclusion, I think that Romeo and Juliet is an entire story that is not flawed, per se, because it does tell an eloquent story, but it does have room for improvement in the way of Romeo and Juliet's characters. But although Shakespeare could be trying to point out the societal constructs of marrying young at the time it was written and not falling in love, they were falling in lust. So, in conclusion, Romeo and Juliet is a story of lust, not love, and is killed off the two main characters by the fight that their family is having.
I loved and I loved and I lost you. I